Hello, and welcome to Circus History Live. I'm Bruce Hawley, president of the Circus Historical Society. Circus History Live is produced monthly by the CHS. Recordings of previous sessions of this program are available on the Circus Historical Society YouTube channel. Tonight, our featured guest is former Ringling Boss Clown and 2018 Circus Ring of Fame inductee, Chuck Sidlow. And now here's the host of Circus History Live, CHS Vice President Chris Berry. Chris?
Thanks, Bruce, and thank you, Chuck Sidlow, for joining us today. I think this is the first of our many Circus History Lives where we've had one of our guests actually in wardrobe, and in your case, also in makeup. So, Chuck, thanks for joining us. I was thinking, we'll get right to it. I know that when you were in high school, you were voted class clown, and you're probably one of the few class clowns who actually went on to become a professional clown. Tell me about how that all happened and how your teachers encouraged you to take on this profession.
Yeah, absolutely. I will. And good evening. Welcome. Thank you, everybody. See all those names up there popping up. Well, I don't have the glasses, but I can see some of them there. And I'm just overwhelmed to have been asked to come here tonight and share my story. It's, I think, very interesting. I hope it's interesting to everyone else. And I hope that there's some, we can touch some nerves and pull some people together. The question is, class clown, class clown. I was in high school class clown. What does that mean? Well, I wasn't best looking, and I wasn't the most athletic, and I had a lot of fun. I loved comedy. I loved burlesque and Three Stooges and slapstick comedy. And I was used when I went to high school. I just want to say it was one of the first years that they started having the classes move. So you had different kids in different classes. Before, we was all in one class all the time. And you know the kids all growing up, all the way from kindergarten all the way up. But when we went to high school, junior high school, they started moving the class around and see different people. Well, I used some of the same routines, but I had to do it in a different way. So I was in there making jokes, and it came time for graduation time. We were walking in the da 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 da, and I did what they called the curly shuffle. I think almost everybody on here might remember that song, the curly. And I did a skip back like curly, and they pulled me out of the graduation. They said, "You're not graduating." I'm not graduating. What am I doing? Well, I was having fun. It was graduation time. It was the end of the year, but they wasn't going to put up with that. They pulled me out of the graduation, and the word went like wildfire around the community because I was pretty good friends with the parents of the kids I went to school with. Not so much the kids I went to school with, but their parents. For some reason, I had a great relationship with their parents and their families. And the kids I went to school with, hi, how you doing? But the parents got word that I'm not graduating. The parents called the school and they said, no, we like that kid. Let him graduate. And they let me graduate. And there was one particular teacher named Joe Giannotti, and he was language arts, something like that there. And he said, the circus is in town. Ringling Brothers is here, and they're having clown auditions. I want you to go to the auditions. I said, what's an audition? And I said, I wasn't even sure what the circus was. He
You've
said,
never seen a circus at that point, right?
I haven't seen a circus. I mean, maybe a little circus that was in town somewhere, but I didn't really pay attention, and I didn't pay attention. But I knew that comedians were clowns for whatever reason. I didn't know what clown, red nose and makeup and all that. But I can't say I didn't know what it was. I was in the world of professional wrestling. I was meeting people, and guys were taking care of me that were representing places from all over the world. I thought that was fascinating. I knew them privately. I knew them professionally, and they kind of took care of me. I was just a high school kid, a young kid. And I watched them, and I seen what they were doing, and they would control the crowd. They would go into Madison Square Garden, 22,000 people, and just by looking, the whole crowd would go, ooh, ah. I thought that was fascinating. And by knowing them personally, spending time with these guys, they taught me and mentored me a lot of different things. So now I've been to the Spectrum in Philadelphia, but only at the wrestling matches. But now I'm going into this clown college audition. And the audition, I go in, and the Spectrum was in Philadelphia. I had been in the back door 20 times with the wrestlers, a million times, but I never been in And I looked in, and what is this circus? Ropes all over. Gunther Gable Williams, I didn't know where he was, but he was at the one end in the ring over there with horses. Bobby Kay was there. Peggy Williams was there. Ruthie Chaddock was there. Frosty Little was there. Mitch Freddies was there. Jimmy Tinsman was there. Tim Doody was there. As did I say, Peggy and Ruth?
Yes, you did.
But I don't know what they are. They're all dressed in full wardrobe, full makeup, and they're standing in the ring there. And kids start coming in. All different kids come different. One kid come in there with a whole magic thing. I said, wow, this kid's great. He's like a professional magician. Another come in, start blowing up balloon. Another kid come in, he was juggling everything like that there. Another kid come in, he had some stilts. He strapped on, John Russell, he strapped on his stilts and started walking around. Right away, Frosty said, everybody sit down, put all your stuff away. Well, I was sitting there. I'm going to tell you what a bump on a log is. I was looking around. I felt comfortable in the arena because I had been in there before, but not in the circus. And they said, sit on a ring curb. Well, I don't know what a ring curb was, but I sat down. All these people, and by the way, half of those people, there were about 25 people. And I was there, about half or more of them was all made up and dressed up, in like clown wardrobe. And I look at these people and I said, boy, I don't know why I belong here. So they start doing their thing, and Frosty started telling the story. In the first 10 minutes, Frosty said, you get $135 a week. We live on a circus train, it's 4 by 6 feet long, and your little cubicle there, 4 foot by 6 feet, and you're going to go on the road for 48 weeks. You're going to do 52 cities. You're going to do 13 to 15 shows a week. And about 20 people left right away. They got it. So about a handful of us there. Oh, we're going to do this. What are you going to do? Well, these kids was doing all these skills, and I said, I can't do it. Frost said, what do you do? I said, well, I can tell a couple of jokes. He said, well, you can't tell jokes in the circus. Nobody can hear you. So what else can you do? I said, well, I can fall down. And I fell down, and I did what's called, today they recognize it as a toothpick fall, like Buster Keaton used to do. But I learned it from one of the great wrestlers named Ric Flair. I seen how he did it. And you go up on your neck, and I could do it really good. Hey, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. How's it fit into what you're doing? Well, I didn't know nothing about that. We went through a routine. We did this. Next thing I know, it's been an hour in there, and we're doing this and we're doing that. And I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm doing it. Bobby Kay come on and tapped me in the shoulder. And I didn't know it was Bobby Kay either, by the way. And he tapped me on the shoulder and he says, young man, I think you got the double whammy. Make sure you send in the application. Now, this is June 1977. I had just graduated, just getting ready to graduate to high school. And I sent the application. And sure enough, September, I got a phone call and a letter from Bill Ballantyne. And I was there for the clown college. They said there were 5,000 applicants. There were 50 selected, and you're one of them. Come to the clown college. And I still didn't know what was going on. So there you go. Oh, there it is right there. Look, I'm in a front row sitting by the dog.
Right there.
Yeah. There's Bill Ballantyne in a pink shirt. And in front of that dog is Billy. Oh, Billy Donnie's got a mustache. He's on the other end next to Ron Severini. Ron was the assistant dean. Hi, Ron, if you're on there. And then I'm on the other side behind the dog. I'm sitting there behind. But 1977, there was Peter Petofsky in there. Cowboy Mike Keever was in there. Skeeter Reese was in there. Kenny Horse. I mean, there's so many. I can name every one of them. And hey, there is my first routine.
Tell us about this is your first routine with the vegetable cart, right?
Yeah, I didn't know what a routine was. Again, I didn't know I was a clown gag. I understood. I went to Frosty. I went to Lou Jacobs. I went to Bobby Kay. And I went to Dwayne Thorpe. And I said, how do I do something different where I can make myself? They said, what do you know? What do I know? I said, I don't know. I said, what your father does? My father's a fruit man. He said, why don't you make a fruit wagon? So I made a fruit wagon, and the idea what my father did was kind of funny because he would cheat the people. But he did it on purpose. He'd give them more than they was getting, but he wasn't giving them the good stuff. So I made a routine like that. And sure enough, the first person that was in, they helped me. And Peggy Williams was in there the first year with me. Hey, look at there. I had never seen that picture until last week. And who's in there is Charlie Fry and a guy named David. My life's a bitch, they called him. That's a nickname. Sorry, I don't mean to curse. But his name was Sliver Lips or something. And he was a nice kid. And every time he would go to like the cigarette machine, he'd pull the thing to get a cigarette, pack a cigarette. The machine would fall down on him. He was prone for accidents. And next is Charlie Fry. He's become a great, great entertainer, a worldwide entertainer. Anyway, I don't know where that was. We were in a spec float, but I saw that photo. Oh, that David Schlibis went on to be a very, very good and prominent clown on the Clyde Beatty show for many years. He worked on the Beatty show. He left the Ringling show. He was on the Ring. They went over there. And of course, Charlie Fry, what I said. But that photograph came up, Chris, in the brand new exhibit at Ringling's museum, at the new Ringling, the Ringling Museum
Ringling Museum in Sarasota. Yeah, and for those who may not know, a new exhibit just opened earlier this month, actually, that marks the Feld era of ownership of the Ringling Circus. Yeah, this photo's in there.
And that photo's in. This is the first time I ever saw it. I never saw it. I was there without makeup, and somebody said, "Hey, is that you over there?" And they show, and that picture's in a mixed display of clowns. There's a lot there. That one's in there too, I think. I was a lot younger. Look, I got a monkey on there. But if you didn't know, I get ahead of myself, and you get me excited talking about the school and all that stuff. But to slow down, I want to say thank you and read how much I appreciate being here. The other thing I want to say, I want to slow down and
a lot of ground to cover here. So here you were, basically right out of high school, and you and I have talked about the fact that I met you about that same time. You and I are kind of the same generation there, and I remember you asked me if you were nice to me. You were terrific.
Thank you very much.
We first met back in 1979, but that was the year you were boss clown already, right? You had become the boss clown. Under Frosty Little.
Yeah, well, that was an interesting story because they're going to make Frosty. There was too. Frosty, for those of you know, Frosty Little was the boss clown. He went to the first clown college. A lot of people might not know. They went to the first clown college, and he found a niche. And you mentioned Ron Severini a little bit ago, and I wanted to say two things about Ron and Frosty to move the ball forward. In the case of Frosty, Frosty committed his whole clowning career and lifestyle and responsibility on the show to keep a large clown alley. When I was there, it was 26 to 28 clowns, and he wanted to see that on both shows. And rather than creating individual gags just for himself to be a star gag or a routine that he would shine in, he made a lot of routines that other people could get in. There you go. He's getting a little older there, helping him with his jacket there. And he was committed to making sure that the Ringling show, because he always wanted to be a Ringling clown. And when the Clown College opened in 1968, he got his chance and he went on there. And he could juggle and he could do a lot of different skill things like that. But his best trait was creating routines and gags that other people could go into and fill up the arena, from a single individual track gag to 2 or 3, 4 people, to the clown car, to the Western gag, to the firehouse, but allowing people to be seen and have a value and worth when they came out of the clown car, something to do, give them something to do. And Frosty could have done all those things himself, and he made sure that other people did it. Now, I'm just going to finish that by saying that commitment was great because it lasted an extra 10 to 20 years of his career on the Ringling show to keep nurturing those clowns as a manager, as a boss clown. Ron Severini did it as well, and he did it on the outside. And many of the acts working around the world were a result of Ron Severini's tutelage. I just want to say that too.
To start with Frosty, and a lot of people may not realize this, but you talked about the fact that he was part of that first clown college class. Right. He was not a kid when he became a clown. I mean, he was an adult, probably by far the oldest member of that class in 1968. But he was somebody, as you said, as a boss clown who you could then emulate. I want to take a look at some video. I'm going to show some video here, and maybe you can kind of walk us through this. When I think back of that era, the late 1970s, the early 1980s, Clown College had been kind of going. You had really great professional clowns, yourself, Peggy Williams, Tinsman, you mentioned. But let's take a look, kind of a walk down memory lane here, and maybe you can kind of describe, if you can remember some of these routines past, but people can kind of get an idea of what they would have seen had they been watching, and you know what, we're gonna have to come back to that because I don't have it
Okay,
ready.
sure.
So let's kind of keep talking.
So let me tell you,
Uh,
can I say something here in the middle?
yes, sir.
We're talking about the boss clown Frosty and some of the things that what he did. So in the case of me, Frosty became a director of both units. The Red Show was a solid entity when it comes to clowns. The Blue Show was great clowns, but they were a little bit scattered here and there. They had 3 or 4 great boss clowns over there, but they were still not as in sync as the Red Show in a respectful way. What I'm talking about is as in discipline. They were great clowns. They did great routines. They maybe were a little late or a little early. The Red Show was timed perfectly. They were in and out. The clowns on the Blue Show, from watching, were great as well, and they were outstanding. They were actually more free than they were on the Red Show. Frosty had a pretty tight rein on the clowns on the Red Show, but Mr. Feld, Irvin Feld, he liked that because the timing was good, and the clowns had a great opportunity to develop strongly within the routines they were doing. On the Blue Show, they had a lot more freedom, and they were developing in a different way to grow and develop. So Mr. Feld said, I want to go send him to the Blue Show. They put Tom and Tammy in charge. Tom Paris would become a boss clown, but Frosty was the manager of that. And now we had me and Kenny Horseman was the co-boss clowns of the Red Show. Well, what do you do as a boss clown? A responsibility: painting props, building props, making props, making the routines fit, making sure all the timing goes on. If it goes late, you got to get paid and make sure everybody's there. If somebody sticks a fill, well, all those things happened. But what happens at a boss clown is you get pulled off of the floor a lot. You're not on the floor as much. And for a young kid like me, I was 20, 21, and I was hungry to be on the floor, and I wanted to perform, and I wanted to get my feet wet, and I had to learn that you can learn more backstage and behind and managing and understanding and watching the other clowns. You'll learn just as much, if not more, than actually going out there doing it. And it's a hard lesson to learn when you're 21 because you think you know everything, And I did. I
Tell us a
still
little
do.
bit about this scene here. Some of you are in white, some of you in yellow, and looks like you're a couple of you guys are in. Looks like referee.
Yeah. So that was there's Frosty in there. All the
Yep.
people in the white were in a band. We had the opening of Come in the early days, in the days when I was there. I'm going to say the mid 70s, late 70s, early 80s. We had the Come In. It was a 20-minute production before the show actually started. Always started with the band. Then there was a series of routines, either a display of 2 and 3 people displays all the way around the track, or somebody in ring one, ring 2, and ring 3 had the cat cages, and the cage was up for the opening for Gunter Gabe Williams. So the show opened with the cat cage there. So we worked all the way around the track and on the round end, around the round end. And so there's the boxing gag with Tinsman and I know he's on here. Mitch Freddies is on there, and those 2 guys walked me and talked me through becoming a referee. I love the character of being a referee, and we did the boxing gag, and we did it for quite a few years. I think they were just
Especially
outstanding
because of your
senior
interest in
clowns.
wrestling too, I'm sure.
You bet it did. And I
There
had,
you are as boss clown.
hey, there I was.
Most people's employees don't call him a clown, but you were fortunate that the guys and women who were under you did.
You bet. You bet. Oh, there's Tim Holst. And the first year Dick Van Dyke came, it was 81, I believe,
Yep.
for the Dick Van Dyke special. Oh, they did the TV special in St. Petersburg. I saw you writing something about that the other day, and I was interested in that because what was written in there was talking about the backstage and the filming and all that stuff. And it was interesting, but I think it was a great challenge and a great experience for everybody that participated. When Dick Van Dyke came that year, you'll see Tim Holst was there as the performance director that year. And we made a pretty good relationship there. It was a great program. And then 7 years later, in the 20th anniversary, Dick Van Dyke came back, and he had asked me to be responsible when he was doing these falls and things. So we had a great responsibility, respect.
That was a special for as you said, the 20th anniversary of Clown College, which was a great opportunity. Well, speaking of your mentors and your idol, Lou Jacobs. I know
Yeah.
from the beginning he was someone who you admired.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier, and that's the reason I started talking about that when I was in school about my friends' parents, because I didn't really get on so well with my friends, and when they were my friends, but I knew the parents and their grandparents, and I had friends with them. Well, when we come into Clown Alley, here I was 17, he was 77. He was somebody's grandparents right there, and we respectfully built the relationship. He didn't talk to everybody, not no reason. Somewhere there was even younger. That was a good one because Knucklehead had died, and that was Pee Wee in there. So Pee Wee was a little skittish, and so they put me in a jumpsuit and follow Lou and Pee Wee up the track to push Pee Wee up the track because Lou spoke very low. He had a low voice in there. He could yell pretty good and he could whistle great, but like he would call Pee Wee, Pee Wee, Pee Wee, come on. And in the arena, it was hard in. Pee Wee had that headpiece on, couldn't hear so good. So I was pushing him along the way to get into the ring for the hunting dog. So anyway, we built a relationship, and it was very interesting because you look down the dressing room and you see 17 to 21-year-old kids. There's about 8 or 9 of us, right? And then there were 1 to 3 years because the contract was 1 year with a 3-year apprenticeship. So you got 1 year, first year, first amaze, and then a couple more staggering in there. 1 to 3 years is 17 to maybe 23 or 24. Then 24 to 25 to 30, like they'd been there 3 to 5 years or 3 to 8 years, like that there. Then a little bit more. There was a 6 to 8 or 6 to 10 years. Peggy was in there, Tim was in there, Tim Duty was in there, Ruthie was in. And you're looking, they're seasoned veterans, although they're still young, under 40, right? Under 40. Then you got Frosty was there, as you say, he was older already. And Bobby Kay had been on so many shows all over, but he came to the Ringling show when I got him there. He had already been there 40 years. Dwayne Thorpe was there for 43 years. And then there was Lou Jacob, he was already there 50 years more when I first got there. And so it was a depth, a bench of deep, deep, deep talent, not only talent, but professional experience, career clowns that they weren't playing around. They weren't coming in there dressing up and going out there doing something.
Let's
They
talk
were,
a little bit about the makeup. You know,
yeah.
you obviously your makeup kind of pays tribute to Lou, but I imagine that a lot of people sort of like that idea of the red ball. Tell me a little bit about how Lou responded to that.
Yeah, it was funny. My makeup, when I first in the clown college, Bobby Kay was teaching makeup and he put it on makeup. Everybody had a chance. They put it on a white face, see how long it would last on their face, see what would work for them. But because we were young, this is an important point. I talked about it the other day in an educational program. Because we were young, and Mr. Fell was very, very clear and direct on this, Mr. Irvin Fell was. We were too young, really too young to wear an Emmett Kelly or an Otto Gridman sad sack or face that was with lines and with history and with knowledge and even a beard. It was hard to sell that character, you see, because we were young. And then a lot of girls was in there and a lot of the boys too that had a good, nice face. The white face was beautiful, easy to see from a long distance. It was nice. But the majority of us was jumping up around, doing this and doing that like kids do. Now I can say that I'm getting older. You don't jump up so much, and your kids, we're moving all the time. So the Auguste cartoon character face, with a big nose and a colorful face like that, worked for mostly everybody. And we did. Look, a lot of us looked alike, but everybody was different. Tried to find a different way. And then I was watching it and I asked them how I can be different. What? Do what you know, do this, do that. I said to Lou, Lou, everybody wearing a big red nose or painting their eyes big or painting a big mouth like that there. So many of us want to emulate your makeup and want to do the same because we know it works for you. And Lou was very quiet. He'd say, how long are they going to do it for? And he knew that because you go through comprehension of your makeup. Makeup is expression, right? So everybody's expression is different. But if you don't know anything, you want to emulate what works. And that worked. That worked forever. So you want to do that, but it doesn't fit your face. Then you got to find your face going to fit.
Well,
And
even
then
his
goes in-
makeup evolved. Even Lou's makeup evolved over the decade.
That's right. And the only one who knew it really was him or the diehard circus fans that we have that, hey, there he is with no makeup. And
Yeah,
there's
here's Lou.
and-
That's you there
Yeah.
on the right, and there's I guess that's Ruthie Chaddock and Frosty Little.
Yeah, and Lou Jacobs. We were in clown college. That was for the getting ready for the 20th anniversary for the big TV special with Dick Van Dyke. So we were working, and it was what a great camaraderie. That's another thing I want to bring up, if possible, for our viewers. Maybe some of them, I don't know if they're just circus fans or other people that were in the show or worked with the show. But at that time, when I had the blessing to go there in 90s, from that being a young kid, 17 years old, there was you could see in every department, from electrical department, they had Congo, the great Congo. He had been there since the 30s. In the on the floor was Dummy, Andrew Robinson, and
Yep.
he had been there since the 30s. Dave Mulaney was there. There were classic people that maybe nobody ever know their names, but they did jobs. They had been doing those jobs, what I said about the clowns too. They were career circus people, not only performers, but every department. Big Red was there. The lights there, Red Garner, right? And so these people that you're walking in to see, when you're 17, I don't come from the circus. The people that didn't come from the circus, if you know, was management. Many of the management were outside, not family, circus family, clowns, showgirls. Everybody else was circus royalty, family, dynasty, many years in there. But we were kind of the outsiders. And then, especially the clown college, there's Dwayne Thorpe.
Dwayne Thorpe, Uncle Soapy there. Now, he was also a mentor to you as a clown, right? He's somebody who's been with the show since the 1940s.
You bet he was. And when Frosty went to the Blue Show, and I could only talk to him maybe once a week from the promoter's phone. We didn't have the cell phone or anything. So I would talk to Frosty what's happening. And I would always go to Dwayne and Lou, respectfully, Dwayne and Lou, 42 years, and then the 52 years or 53 years, and whatever had to happen. So every day we had 28 clowns. The clowns would come in. Some of them would be sick, or they didn't want to come to work today, or God forbid, have an accident or something like that. Say, hey, Chucko, I'm not coming today, or can I skip out of that routine? Well, that routine has to go. Mr. Feld, Irvin Feld, had every routine at the same time, every time, no matter what, it had to go. It was a big situation if some routine didn't go, because not only the timing didn't happen, the whole show fall apart time-wise, that 2 minutes or 3 minutes had to be filled. So every time somebody like that would happen, I'd say, oh boy, I got a chance to go into the show because such and something, but I wouldn't just do it. I'd go to Dwayne and say, Uncle Soap, I said, we called him Uncle Soapy. Uncle Soapy, I said, so-and-so's not here today. Do you mind if I go in and do that routine? And he said, and every day was the same thing, every day, if it happened. Well, he said, I'm all right with it. He said, when is it? Yeah, I'm okay. Check with Lou. It's okay with me, but check with Lou. So I'd go, Lou, hey, Lou, I just come from Dwayne. Such and such not here today. I'd like to go in that routine. And Dwayne says, okay, but he said, check with you. Dwayne said, okay. Yeah, sure. I said, Dwayne said, all right, but he want me to check with you. He said, you know the routine? Yeah, I know. You ever done it before? Oh, well, I practiced with it and I showed the guy how to do it. I haven't done it in the show yet, but why don't you let the other guy do it? Okay, well, I mean, I got time and I can let the other guy do it. You'll learn more that way. Okay, well, that happened, right? We come out of Florida, then we get into Georgia, then we get in North Carolina and South Carolina, then we get into Washington and we get to New York, and then we're all the way in San Francisco. And I'm going to tell you, if it happened a half dozen times, it happened 25 times, 50. And my young big shot ego of being the youngest boss clown, oh, I can do this and I can do it, is getting shot down because I'm not in the show. I'm not being seen and I'm not performing. And so And one, you saw a picture there of me with the hunting dog with Lou. Well, another job I had with him was to put Surf Rocha inside the baby buggy and walk him to the curtain because he was going to do the baby buggy and come around, and I had to get the dress and bring it back. So we get to
And
the
that was a routine that Lou had done. That was
yeah,
Lou's
that was Lou's routine. I
Yeah.
mean, absolutely Lou's routine. We get to San Francisco, and every day it's the same thing. I walk him to the curtain, the baby music starts, da 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 da. Well, we get to the curtain, and this is one of those days where the kid, or one of the guy, young kids, he wasn't there. I said, "Lou, can I?" He said, "Let the other guy do it." And it really got me. It was one of them hot days in San Francisco, and let the other guy do it. And I didn't want to be disrespectful, and I loved him, and I knew what he was talking about. I understood, but I wanted to get in that show. I wanted to work. You know how a kid can be, and I was that kid, smart ass, right? I didn't say nothing. We get to the curtain. He says to me, "Hey, Chuck," he says, "you ever see the baby buggy routine?" And Surf is right there in the buggy. And he's standing there with the big hat on and the dress. And I said, "You mean the one you're getting ready to do?" "Yeah, you know, the baby buggy with Surf and the baby and the cigar." "You smoke a cigar, don't you?" "Yeah, I smoke a cigar." "Well," he said, "next week I got to go to the clown college and I want you to do the baby buggy." Just about that time, the music starts, da 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 da, and he starts to walk out. And I got my, "Let the other guy do it." And I couldn't get the words back in my mouth fast enough because they came out and he heard them. And he went down, he did a routine, he went around the track, got stripped. I went back, I bring the dress back, get in the dressing room, and I can't even say I'm sorry. I can't say anything. I just hang the dress up on his trunk right there. The rest of the show, that was in the first half. The rest of the show, I dressed them for what they do. No words are spoken. The rest of nothing. The next day comes before, and I was always early. I always come in early. But the next day, when I come to my trunk, the baby buggy dress was hanging on my tree. And I looked at him and I went over and said, "Lou, you said let the other guy do it." And I was calmed down a little bit. I said, "You said let the other guy do it." He said, "You're the other guy." And that's the way that went. So
That's a great story.
and
So-
from there, just let me say, was the baby buggy in all the matinees. Then after that, I got to do the hospital bed, right? Then I got to do the motorized bathtub and all the things that the matinees I deemed the responsibility and completely learned, and was given the opportunity to do those signature gags. And it was trust, it was respect, it was love. And I learned so much. It wasn't you do it this way, it wasn't do it that way. He knew that I was there watching every time, doing every time. And then I said, well, my biggest question was, how do I do it? Not like you do it, but how do I make it work? Because I'm not you. And I don't want to do an impersonation of you. You'll figure it out, he said. And I certainly did, because I found my own way to emulate him, but not copy him. And that was another thing I got from the circus, from him, Dwayne Thorpe, and Bobby Kay, and Frosty Little. And on the other show was Prince Paul, how to be your own. And it goes way back to when I'm a kid in the wrestling business. All the different things. If somebody knows what a figure four leg lock is, if the opening match finishes with a figure four leg lock and the main event the champion has to have that, you can't do it. You got to know when and how far to go with it before you lock it in and win in wrestling.
We have a lot of ground to cover here.
Okay, there you go. I hope that makes sense
but
to you.
It does. I want to thank everybody for joining us here for this edition of Circus History Live with our guest, Chuck Sidlow, who is a member of the Circus Ring of Fame, among other things. A long time. There's your award. I also want to encourage those of you who might not already be members of the Circus Historical Society to consider membership. We are going to be having a special promotion in a few days. You'll be seeing it on social media. And if you join as a 1st of May, and that's the hint, folks, it's going to be right around the 1st of May, you will get not only your membership, which includes 4 issues of the Bandwagon magazine, but everybody's going to get a 1959 Clyde Beatty Cole Brothers program,
Wow.
a 1936 Algie Barnes letterhead, and a couple of tickets to see the greatest show on earth. So if you're not a member, consider joining right around the 1st of May. Chuck Sidlow, it's great to have you with us. You've got so many stories. I want you to tell us about working with Gunther Gable-Williams, because I know that he also kind of took a shine to you.
It's another great example, especially when it came to being the boss clown. Now, how does that go with Gunther Gable-Williams? It's interesting. I told you, I didn't know it at the time when I auditioned in Philadelphia. He was in the far ring. I didn't know who he was, and he was practicing. And I was coming in to go to a clown college audition. So then I get on the show. Finally, I get into the show. I'm on the show, and I know what Gunther Gable. Wow, watch from afar. Well, I happen to be the right size that they didn't cast me in the Web or the Elephant Number because I was the right size. And if somebody's sick or out, I had a wardrobe to go in for anybody that was out. See, they gave the Web girls always had a Web guy, a man, and went with the wardrobe that fit in there, in the theme. And the same thing in the Elephant Number, the clowns all had a particular wardrobe that they wore in the themed in the Elephant Number. But there were a couple people like me that just happened to be the right size, because when I joined the show, it was the second year of the show. So there was some holes in there that they needed to fill. And from the clown college, we plugged them in. Big tall guy, little short person, a big round one, whatever. They would fill them up by the characters. But in the case of me, the average size, it was perfect because during the course of 52 weeks, and 48 weeks and 52 shows, somebody's going to be out. And you have to know that somebody has to go in, hold the web, or do the extra part. And I fit that wardrobe. So I'm around Gunther, I see him, but I'm not in the Elephant Number. And I'm watching, I'm doing. And then when I become the boss, he's in the ring practicing, and he's watching me hold the auditions. And after the audition, he come over to me, he says, "Hey, come here, I want to ask you something." He said, "When you have these clowns in here," he said, "you ever watch my Tiger act?" Same thing, like Lou Jacobs, same thing. "You ever watch the Tiger act?" "Yes, certainly, sir. I watch whenever I possibly can." "You ever watch a horse?" "Yeah." "Watch elephant?" "Yeah." He says, "All my animals is like my family. And I watch them when they watch me. And I see what they want to do, what they can do, what they don't want to do, and what they can't do." He said, "Do that with your clowns, and you're going to have a great clown alley." And it didn't make sense to me. And I thought about it. And I went in. We had 28 clowns. Every one of them was different. They all had different skills, abilities. Some of them wanted to do, some guys wanted to be jugglers. Well, they didn't need to be jugglers, but there was jugglers. But when the opportunity came, they could juggle. The clowns on the Ringling show wasn't a necessity to be a juggler at that time, But when they could, bam, they were great. And I found that out. Instead of stifling them and stopping them, we found a spot for them to do it in. And it gave me an energy of accomplishment, because the people I was dealing with, all individual characters, all different levels and types of egos and personalities, and talent was the key. Mr. Irvinfeld, he had talent, loved talent. He wanted to see the talent shine. And if there was a way to find it, to fit it in, guess what? Gunther Gable-Williams gave me that secret to let them do what they do when they can do it. And if they can't do it at the time, tell them you'll get to do it later.
Now, you obviously, he had a affinity for you too, because I remember a gag, and I don't think there's any video of it. I've got a picture I'm going to show, but why don't you tell me about what happened when you were down in winter quarters and he was doing his Liberty Horse act?
Yeah, he had one horse named Darlin, beautiful brown stallion was. And Darlin would follow him everywhere he went to. And he was the last horse in the Liberty Act. Tina and Sigrid were in the other two rings, and they did the Liberty Act. And then their horses went out and they left. And Gunther was last, and they did whatever they had to do. And the last thing happened, Darlin would come on 2 feet, walk behind him, stand like that there, and do a pirouette or something like that. And then would come in, and they would say, "Gunther Gable-Williams." And then he would walk out, and Darlin would follow him. So I said to him one time, I said, "Do you think that horse will follow me?" He said, "Let's see. See, follow me." He said, "Yeah, try it." He said, "Let's practice that." So he started, every time he had practice, I would go out there and the horse would follow, teach me how to follow me, just follow me. He said, "I got an idea." He said, "We did this in Europe. I don't think it's been done in America." He said, "At the end of the act," he says, "come in, sweeping up. And before the act is over, he said, there it is right there. And he said, come in sweeping. And then I'll say, wait a minute, the act ain't over. And you push me. And then I'll push you back. You throw the broom on the floor. I'll whisper in the horse's ear and the horse is going to chase you. Really? Yeah, come on, we try. We try. Well, he whispered in the horse's ear. And I had to, you got to remember, I'm wearing the clown shoes there. But I had to step over that ring curb, and the horse was right here, right on my shoulder, running like that. And I had to run all the way around the ring and all around out the ring.
The hippodrome track, all the way around, and
then
out
the back, and then out the back door. And then at the back door, I think it was might have been wasn't Rigona, it was maybe Denny McGuire or Kid Haskett might have even been there that time. And they had a microphone and they put a full-size dummy of me on the bridle. Instantly, I come back, they put the bridle on, and it scream, ah! And it come back out, and they would say Gunther Gable Williams, and the full-size dummy of Chucko was hanging on the horse, and then that was the end of the act. It was a blessing, and I tell you what, everyone, Mr. Feld saw it and said, where'd that gag come from? I said, well, Gunther and I have been, why does it take Gunther Gable Williams to come up with a clown gag? By God, if you can't come up with, the eyes were going in. If you can't come up with a clown gag, by why I'll get somebody. But we had a great relationship. The responsibility that it gave me to be in the ring with Gunther and to have to fulfill that was. And guess what? Remember, I was the boss guy and I didn't have too many other spots in the show, so that was a big spot for me because it was with Gunther. So thanks for bringing that up. That's great.
I'm gonna try to play this video again that I missed earlier. So imagine yourself watching Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey about 1979 with this tremendous clown college and also just the classic veteran clowns on that clown alley. And let's see if we can watch a little bit of this real quick here. Hang on a second.
Here we go.
Let's see if I can.
Look at it! It's me with the horse chase.
All right, here we go.
Hey, that's
Danny Kaye.
Danny Kaye, thank you. That was a TV special in St. Petersburg. Dwayne Thorpe behind him, Kathy Herb, and Skeeter Reese behind them. If you're going to see him, he put a orange on his nose, and we started the crazy number, the walk around. Dwayne and I doing the instant midget. He turned me into an instant midget. I saw there's Peggy Williams and John Russell doing the fight, and there's Jimmy Tinsman and me. And Georgie Rollins doing the breakaway dummy. There's Ken Horseman. Oh, there's Mitch Freddies and Richard Nash. Richard Nash was there. There's Mitch Freddies again with the cigar. You'd never see it today. Blowed him up right there. Yeah, he made that up there. There's Jeff Gordon. There's good Victor Ruiz with his puppet. There's Uncle Soapy right there. The other one was so quick. Mike Keever and Kerry Griffin doing the bend over pig over there. And there's somebody.
It's Denise.
Yeah, we saw her with the book, right? Lou Jacob with the little elephant. There you go, right there. That was big. And there's the clown car, the horse, and Eugene Pigeon, Bucky Schmeltz, right there with he was a good. There's Jim Vogelsang became a boss clown on the Red Show. Frosty and Jimmy Tinsman doing the bend over spark plug came from a cartoon. We talked about live cartoon. Jackie Leclerc's father created that spark plug in the late 20s, early 30s, and the original spark plug. And Frosty, they recreated it in 1980 right there. Jimmy Tinsman and Frosty did it. And he also did it with Jimmy, what was his name? Oh boy, I had a book on how to improve my memory. I forgot where I put the book. Jimmy Briscoe.
So you talk about those classic gags. Here's one that you also did not too long ago. A classic gag from the 1920s.
Yeah, coming to the 20s or 30s, Frosty brought it back up. They did it in the 50s and 60s before Mr. Urbanfeld bought the show. And then they said we were looking for it. And Frosty actually carved the skeleton in the mid 70s. They did a skeleton chase. Many people did it. I think the best one to do it when I was there, and from my recollection, was Skeeter Reese. He would tie that thing on there and he made that thing alive, the skeleton chase. And we made that one for special needs community. We did it they have a buddy walk, Minnesota's Manatee Buds. And we did it at their Halloween festival. And so I made that one, recreated it.
So Chuck, you were with the Ringling, with the Red Unit, really, until the show went to Japan in 1988, and
may I correct you?
Changed.
Can I
changed
correct
your
you?
life.
No, I was on the red show, and then I went to the blue show. Mr. Feld sent me to the blue show.
Okay, there
And
you
then he
go.
sent me to this blue show for 2 years, and then I went to Circus World right before he sold it. So I was very multi-opportunity under Mr. Irvinfeld. Yeah, that was great because I got to see it all. And so I'm
So,
going to interrupt you, but it took me to Japan. Yeah.
and once you went to Japan, that really took your life on a totally different trajectory. Tell
You
us a
bet.
little bit about the gold unit after you left the circus, falling in love basically, and bringing your bride back to Sarasota eventually.
Yeah, so the short story long, make a short story long. The Clown College 20th anniversary, they had an act called the Cable Car. And Mr. Kenneth Feld loved that cable car, and he wanted to put one on the blue unit, and he wanted to send one to Japan. Well, there was a kid in there, and I was teaching there. I was teaching slaps and falls at that 20th anniversary. And Kenneth said, I want you to do the cable car. I said, I don't like heights. I had my 15-foot telephone pole. I loved it, but I was scared of it. I didn't like the height. So he put,
Yeah, why don't you describe what the cable car was up above the arena there? And
so the cable car came from South Africa. It was on the ice show, on one of the ice shows. And we had a director, one of the directors of artwork. And he said, why don't we do the cable car for the 20th anniversary? And it was cable went across the arena. It was dressed up like a gondola, like you're going to go on a cable car to go skiing or something. And there was a mother, a kid, and the conductor. And there were clowns, of course. The mother was in drag. The kid was a very good acrobat. And the conductor was also a very good acrobat. And so it was a hanging apparatus, and it would swing and would go across the cable, across the arena, and it'd come back and it would blow up, and the cover would come off. What was left was the three people doing a single acrobatic number with a balance on a moving thing like this. Well, I was scared to death. I didn't like it, but Kenneth said, I want Chuck to do it. And the other guy who was doing the cable car said, Chuck, you don't want Kenneth to be right, do you? He said you won't do it. Well, if you're watching, Kenneth, the idea was, I'm scared. I don't want to do that. Just tell me you'll do it. So we said, we'll do it. We come down and practice. It went on the show we went to Disneyland with it first, and then we went to Japan. We get to Japan, and it was myself. There was about 6 or 8 clowns from that 20th anniversary clown college. There was Bob Zarek, old time clown from early years of the 70s. I think he went with Tim Holtz and Ron Severini. Bob Zarek did. Classic character clown. Then there was Wayne Sidley. He was a classic white-faced clown, if you know Wayne. And there was me. It was the August. Now, we had a lot of other clowns, but we were the 3 ambassadors for the circus, for the Ringling in Japan. We did that. We did Hokkaido and Sapporo and Tokyo and Osaka. Then I got
this
offered.
was a big show under canvas too.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. The pictures are just incredible, and you'll have more of them. We'll make sure that the archives get those if you don't have them. It's incredible. It was a stellar show. It had some of the greatest acts from the 70s and 80s in America on both red and blue. They pulled them all together. Mr. Felt put them all together. And you know the numbers. It was a huge show. He bought the sound system, the light system from Michael Jackson, and it was incredible. And it was
I think I've read and that it cost about $18 million to put that show on.
I believe
the total, Feld and the local promoter on that.
Charlie Bowman was there. Peggy Williams was there.
Nanny Harriet.
Start. You bet. They had the whole family. The Spanias was there. The Spanias were there, and just so many. Pedro Carrillo, the Carrillo brothers were there. It was just an incredible show from the 70s and 80s combined to go there. Outstanding. So anyway, I'm there. We're doing the advanced promotion, and a Japanese company picks me up to be an image character, because this was 88, 89, 90, and the economic boom of Japan was exploding. And one of the largest Japanese companies picked me up to be an image character. They love the American thing. They love a cartoon clown. They love Chucko, whatever it was. And I became the image character for this major Japanese company all over the country. I stayed there in Osaka. I took the 2 boys from the cable car with me. They stayed a year or 2 with me. And then continued to stay there. I was there for 8 years before I got hit with a red brick, and boy, I fell in love. I didn't know what happened. In the meantime, I had made plans. We're going to come back to America. We're going to start a brand new organization, serving the senior community, serving the local community in Sarasota. Had met some, my family. We decided we're going to do that. We're going to come back here. And just about that time, I fell in love. There was the earthquake of 96.
Yep.
It destroyed the city of Kobe. And because of that city of Kobe, how we met. I met Noriko, my wife Noriko. Well, it wasn't my wife then, and I just said, well, I didn't know I was head over heels. You know, when you get hit and you're like stunned like that. Until she got on the airplane, we came through America to the customs. They made her take her shoes off, and the bottom of her foot said "Made in Japan." I didn't even know she was Japanese. I didn't even know. But anyway, we 8 years I was there. I met her. We came back. I came back here to start out the organization we were going to build and grow, and we did. 5 years later, I convinced her to marry me, and we got married. She came here, and then we started moving forward with building this and building that, and the world of Chucko started to get born in the special needs community and the senior care. Going back,
I want to talk about that in kind of the time that we have remaining too. So you were circus clown, the greatest show on earth, spent almost a decade in Japan, came back. You're very actively involved with Circus Sarasota, getting that going. You become a member of the Circus Ring of Fame. I mean, really, recognized as one of the greats, really, that's been involved in the circus world in Sarasota. Here's a picture of you. This is I think the year before you went in, right? You were.
That was the announcer for 8 years. That was quite the honor as well. Yeah, thank you.
And but there you are with your pal Jackie LeClaire, who I know was another somebody who really was an inspiration to you and a great guy. But together, the two of you started something, right? Where you would go and perform at nursing homes and hospitals and things like that.
When I came back, again, going back to the beginnings of friends of my parents and the grandparents and Lou Jacobs and the senior clowns that were there and the senior pro wrestlers that I knew. The relationship was, I said, we got to do something in the community with what we have, because in Sarasota especially, it's the most populated seasoned citizen community in the world. And there's a way to do this. There's from independent living, assisted living, skilled nursing, all areas of memory care, and loneliness, big time loneliness, because a lot of people move down here. They may lose their spouse. Maybe their family still lives up north. There's J.P. Theron. He come from a great circus family as well. We know that was the first actor on Ringling after the war. His mother in the cycling Therons. Anyway, JP's with me, and there's another fellow that special needs, special abilities, but they're not special. We find out they have abilities far beyond a normal person. They can compensate and find ways to do things we could never believe to do it. So anyway, I had the idea was how can we serve these people? Not that I don't like to say underserved. These people who need a touch, they need a hug, they need not only the comedy is a big part of it, and I don't want to make a mistake about it, but the makeup and wardrobe. If someone's blind, you have to have this inside of you. And I'm going to tell you, from over 25 years now, the people that we serve, even when they're blind, they know if I have the makeup on or not, because they can feel my energy. And we have built relationship. The program's built on relationship building. Everything we do is on relationship building from all ends. We cover every spectrum of senses. You can't see, you got to hear, you can't touch, you can't smell, whatever it is. We make sure that it's overlapped and covered so that whoever we're engaging with and have the opportunity to share time with, they get something.
For those who don't know, explain what World of Chucko is, because this is a 501c3. This is an opportunity you give so much back to the community in Sarasota, but it's really an opportunity for those of us who are on this call also to understand what you're doing and maybe contribute.
Well, thank you. So, okay, as the question is, why does a clown, how does a clown? Okay, we entertain people. No, it's a different story. We take history, mystery, magic, music, mirth, mayhem, memories, and we make miracles. We see miracles every day. People our age, and respectfully our age, and even the younger ones are it's turning, but our age and more need a human relationship. This it's wonderful. Technology is fantastic. It's great. But when you're alone, it's very, very difficult. We saw it on widespread when the pandemic came. And what we did, we had another opportunity. The heavens opened up because we couldn't do anything. We couldn't see the people we've been serving. They had nobody. They couldn't even go to a dining room in the facility to have many. They had to stay in their room. So we created a World of Chucko monthly themed videos with reoccurring characters, reoccurring themes, and we covered a month. You can go to the YouTube channel and see a lot of these programs, and they were done right out of our pocket, bare minimum, with nothing, but we delivered them to the senior care. So we take all the things that encompasses a circus, compound it with daily life, compound it with aging challenges. Aging challenges is one thing, but another thing is there's special challenges. We on the outside don't realize that people with challenges think we have challenges. And when you work enough with them, close enough to them, you find out that we're handicapped, if that's the word, because they have accomplished and do accomplish things that we can't dream of. Guess where you hear that before? The circus. Where do you get things that you can't imagine being done? They can't do it. It's never been done before. How about that? In the circus. So we take that, encompass it. JP and I are clowns. My wife is a producer, and she's also an excellent musician as far as Hammond organ and piano, and she can score anything and make them fill in the blanks that we can't do visually or with osmosis, with a feeling. The feeling is so powerful that the makeup and the wardrobe is a blessing for people who can see it and get it, but it only opens the door. Jackie used to say, you can get in the door with personality, you can get in the door, but you got to have character to stay in the room. That's Jackie LeClaire. We use it all the time.
You know, we see you right now with the classic, clown college makeup, which, as we said, evolved. But you have a lot of other characters that you portray also, and that you bring to these situations. Tell me a little bit about some of those.
Well, that's interesting. Again, so it's me, it's Chucko. At the end of the day, it's Chucko. If I do Groucho Marx or I do Charlie Chaplin, this is how much. We only got a minute or so, don't we?
Yeah, we can. We don't have to close it right away.
Okay, so here's a Groucho Marx character when the people know to get the glasses and the mustache. But this is a pretty good story. I think if you can take 2 minutes, I'll try and put it in there. I was in Japan, and of course, the American clown was well received. I was the image character for an organization. The Japanese government at the post office was going to do a campaign with Charlie Chaplin. They love Chaplin over there. They love all cultural historic things that have a there's Groucho again. Say the secret way. No. So they asked me, can you do Charlie Chaplin? Well, I like Charlie Chaplin, but Charlie Chaplin is a very difficult character because very little talking. No talking. And a lot of clowns can get away. JP is great. Many clowns, no talking. In the circus, we always talk, even though you didn't hear us. But my generation, a lot of us talk. A lot of them don't. And it's very difficult. But if you're doing Chaplin, you got to have a foil, you got to have a story, you got to have something, and music in order. They say, can you do it? So I started studying Chaplin. I studied Chaplin. I knew a little bit, but I didn't know. I became a Chaplin's Chaplin. I became so good at Chaplin, you couldn't recognize Chaplin.
I've seen. I don't have a video of that, but I would encourage people to go to World of Chucko and they can watch you.
Yeah, but here's what happened. This is incredible, Chris, and this is why Groucho and all the other characters came about, and Chucko too became of age. I did Chaplin so good it was Chaplin that people didn't recognize Chaplin. Only if you were a Chaplin nut, you could see how meticulous the Chaplin was, and I had to dial it back. You know what? I dialed it back to the snapshot of people's Chaplin. People don't spend their whole life studying a circus, studying clown, studying Chaplin, studying cartoon. They see a snapshot and how it affects them in their life. And I learned that lesson by going too far and dialing it back. So now when I do Chaplin, it's a snapshot of Chaplin, and I can go an hour and a half more. Groucho the same way. It's
You know,
Chucko.
you talk about that cartoon character, and here's one that you do. That's, believe it or not, folks, that's Chuck Sidlow as Popeye. And
And
you
we
do
were
that.
lucky with that. Yeah, we were lucky with that because Bruce Catilla, great circus clown, worked on many circuses. He went to the clown college as well, played Olive Oil, and J.P. Theron, for mentioned before, done the greatest Bruto or Bluto you can imagine. I would go to, or our website has it, right? That's
Yep.
the Popeye cartoons. So we'll do some, but clowning is a live cartoon for me. I've been blessed to be with some of the greatest in that created the industry, that made this industry, that founded the industry and lived the industry. And I'm going to repeat one more thing, and that's in the case of the wrestlers that I knew that mentored me, and the circus clowns and the entertainers all across entertainment, especially in this clown alley of the red unit, the blue unit, the gold unit, the clown college, the people that were behind and pushing and doing, they were real. And I have a commitment that I have to be real. Chuck Lee is a real cartoon. He's a live cartoon. I hope you buy
Denise
it.
Payne says, "Love you, Chucko." If anybody has a question for Chuck, by the way, we're going a little long just because this is such a great conversation right now. You can go into the chat and you can ask Chuck, and we'll try to get to your questions. But I want to talk a little bit about, we spoke earlier about the new Ringling Museum exhibit. You also were very involved and very instrumental in Venice, down at the old train station. They've taken a railroad car down there and basically rebuilt it, including your little bunk has been rebuilt down there.
Yeah, my Peggy Williams as a 4x6. Her first girl clown room is there. Gunter Williams is a miniature living room, part of his living room, and my stateroom when I became the boss clown is there. And it's an unbelievable experience that it's a real 90-foot railroad car. The Historic Society of Venice bought that. They gutted it, and they give tribute. There it is with Mr. Felny's lovely daughter when we did
There's
the
Juliet and Kenneth Feld, and there's you, and there's the railroad car behind you.
They did the ribbon cutting for that, and inside is a really pictorial history of the circus in Venice, the years from 67.
There's a beautiful model of the old Venice Winter Quarters arena.
Yep.
I see that Tito was there.
Thank you very much. Tito gave us the chairs for our educational program yesterday, and I hope he's watching. He sees that. Tito Gaona is great. He got his wonderful trapeze school there, and he gave us the chairs. He's donated the chairs for our program yesterday. Thank you.
Well, anytime you see Chuck and that picture frame, how did that come about, that whole picture frame thing?
That's an interesting story. I wonder if I have it. Listen, I have,
because it's kind of one of your trade. Well, it is your trademark, I guess.
what it is.
Just happen to have one right here, right?
Yeah, I got it right here. But there was a fella. This happened in L.A. It happened in L.A. I was going to a PR thing, and clowning in a circus, what are you going to do? You can't take the firehouse and you can't take the clown car to the little TV studio. What are you going to do? And so Peggy Williams was great about that. She'd bring something in your pocket, make sure you got something to show them. And I learned from the wrestling, talk about the rest of the show because they could see you. Well, we were driving. I can't remember. It was an assistant promoter from LA. We were at LA Forum, and he took me to FLA, whatever it was. And we drove past a picture frame shop. And I said, hey, go stop there for a minute. I got a picture and I put it on like a necklace. And I put it on. So I went in there and I had the idea about Alice in Wonderland climbing through the picture frame. And I made up a story about it all climb through the picture frame. And Lou Jacobs had told me, because I was doing the little car sometime for matinee. Then I was doing the bathtub and in the baby buggy. So I knew which way, if my shoulders could get through, I could get through. So I got this picture frame. I used to have a smaller frame, but I get the picture frame and I put the picture frame and we go on the TV and it says, what are you wearing that picture frame for? So, well, I said, I got this tie in Thailand, but this picture frame, really, if you come through with me, you'll go into the circus. And I went through and I bent through and I went through right. And I come through and they showed the footage of the show at the forum and it went right like that. And all that time I said, wow, I never dreamed it was an accident. But I always had the picture frame over. I just put it over the side. I forgot about it for years. I just forgot about it. We came down here to Ringling Museum, and they had the grand opening of the Tibbles Learning Center. And Mr. Tibbles, you know well,
Yes.
they had, again, I was humbled. They had an exhibit, me putting the makeup on, 8.5 minute exhibit, putting the makeup on. And so they had a big party, and I came there with the picture frame on. And they said, "What's a picture?" And I did it again. Oh boy. Well, guess what? The next week they had an art show, and they wanted me to stand outside in the lobby and do that with the art. And I started wearing there, got it. And now it's a signature mark that I've been having over 40 years now. About 38 years I've been having it, and I got a whole bunch of picture frames. So
Well, it's a classic. So I want to, as we start to wrap up here a little bit, and I want to talk a little bit about kind of what all you're doing now. We spoke earlier about the importance of the world of Chucko. How can people get involved in that?
Well, thank you. Yeah, we have the website, of course, theworldofchucko.org, O-R-G. We are a 501c3 not-for-profit arts, entertainment, and education organization. We do every kind of program you can think of. We are online at the World of Chucko on YouTube, and you can see the wonderful program. I'm proud. Oh, there's a new one. We just finished this one. You got me talking now. We just finished this with a non-for-profit orchestra. It's called Strings Cambrio. They have a 50 or 60 piece orchestra. They asked Noriko to play the piano, and I did 3 different spots with them. That video may be coming up pretty soon. They'd have to get it, when you have 60 people. There's the maestro, Mr. Kenneth Bauermeister, and they named a hall after him. He taught at the different schools around here. He's taught all over the world. He's a fantastic maestro, Mr. Maestro Bauermeister. And he's, so anyway, what I had there is I had brought my violin case. And he said, "Chucko, you going to play the violin?" He said, "Yeah, but you can only play in the circus." Well, this is an orchestra. And I opened it up and said, "Peanuts, popcorn, cotton candy, cotton." And that was part of the routine. But how are you going to find us? So there it is right there. So,
Yeah.
that was a brand new experience. I had it one time before when I did Chaplin in Japan. The movie Chaplin came out, and they asked me to come there and be Chaplin along with the symphony orchestra in Osaka. And they did movie music of Chaplin, did so much movie music. And I did 3 pieces as Chaplin, Eating the Shoe, and I did the park bench, and I did the giant newspaper, and as Chaplin. And it went over very, very well. But that live experience with an orchestra, if anybody's out there does it, it's an amazing feeling because you're blending, going back to cartooning. My first experience with classic music came from Warner Brothers cartoons, the Disney cartoons, and I didn't even know it was classical music, but I knew the cartoons were moving to the music. And we do a lot of that in the World of Chucko. We pick classical music and elevate the art of clowning through that. So you can find us the World of Chucko. That's where it is.
Yeah, it's terrific, folks. The world of Chucko.com, right? Is the way to find you.
Both. You can
.org.
find
And 501c3, Noriko does a fabulous job with you too. We've had a great time talking to you tonight. A lot of folks, a lot of your friends online, Barry Pat Cooney says that it's been a long time since 1988. Stuart Eisenberg, who we know one of the promoters for a long time, has been on, says it's great to spend an hour with you and wants to do it more. So thanks again for joining us. Again, if you are not a member of the Circus Historical Society, go to circushistory.org. You can learn more about us. Chuck Sidlow, thank you. You're a real treat to talk to, but more than that, you are a gift to the circus and the people of Sarasota in particular. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chuck. I want to thank you very much for coming tonight. It was a blast. I really thought you did a terrific job, and it was so much fun to have you on our program. I'd also like to thank Chris for doing the MC work, as he always does every month. And behind the scenes, Eileen Barney, who did the recording, and Anya Norris, who does our social media and YouTube channel. And finally, I'd like to thank all of you for attending the program. As Chris said, if you're not already a member, please consider joining the Circus Historical Society. For only $60 a year, you get 4 copies of our magazine, our journal, the Bandwagon, and other benefits as well, access to our behind the scenes website, our bookstore, and discounts at our convention. And speaking of the convention, our convention is scheduled for August 4 through 7 in Atlanta. Please go to our website, circushistory.org, the events section. We just announced this afternoon the program. We have a heck of a program. We've got about 20 different speakers, wide variety of subjects. And a special feature of this year's convention is we're going to do a visit to Circus Vasquez, including behind the scenes tour and attendance at a special performance of Circus Vasquez. So thank you everyone for attending the program tonight. And as they say in the circus world, we'll see you down the road. Good night, everybody.